welcome. It's Friday. We all managed to survive the week, so that's good to see. Glad y'all are here. Appreciate y'all coming back to visit. Tonight we're going to talk about a topic I found very interesting recently. I ran across some pictures of some old lunchboxes online and was reminiscing for myself about the kind of lunchboxes that we used to have back in the early 70s, mid 70s, and the 80s even, when we were all in school, for my friends. For my descendants, I don't know what you guys have these days, probably eating pills or something, that's it. But we used to have some really creative and interesting lunchboxes we used to cart our food in with daily to school. Now, early on, they were all metal and they had thermoses in them. Oftentimes, you had your standard plaid lunchbox with the thermos that had the glass in it. And how many of you guys ever dropped one of those and shattered the insides of it? So then they moved on to the metal lunchboxes, but they all had some kind of marketing for various things on them. We'll talk about many of the different kinds coming up, but they tended to have the plastic thermoses in them. Once they realized that kids couldn't be responsible for glass thermoses. So anyway, and then moved on to the plastic ones and the cheaper products. Less expensive to make for sure, but just not the same as it was with the old metal lunchboxes. There was all kinds of lunchboxes. They were all typically the same thing. They were, rectangular cubes with one of the large sides folded down, and you put your basic lunch in them. The thing that made each one unique, or not each individual one, but the various ones unique, was the characters or whatever it was presenting on the outside. Now, these were embossed, they were typically colored, and sometimes they were a status symbol or especially in elementary school, another indicator of one's social status or coolness or whatever based on the kind of lunchbox you had. Now, I went to elementary school starting in 1970, and I finished elementary school in, I guess, 76? But even going on into middle school, we still carried our lunches somewhat, not as much. But back then, so the lunchboxes were sometimes crazy. Most of the times they were showing scenes from our favorite television shows or movies or favorite musical acts and things like that. So we're going to look at a few. I found a bunch of pictures of some of these and was, again, reminiscing of some of the ones I had, some of the ones my friends had that I thought were interesting or cool, and then ran across some truly odd ones we're gonna look at as well. So here we go, a little look back in time of lunchboxes from the 70s. So looking back, I was looking at the pictures that I ran across and was trying to remember exactly the lunchboxes I had, and I know for sure I had this Fat Albert one. I think my sister may have had this Peanuts one, and I'm sure I had a Scooby-Doo one at one time, but I can't remember any other specific ones I had. But those were typically looking at TV series or cartoons and stuff like that, and those were very popular subjects for 70s lunchboxes. Well, here's some more I ran across. These are very interesting. All of them deal with old TV shows in this section. So we're looking at, hey, remember Welcome Back, Kotter, right? There's a couple of these. Who can forget the Flying Nun? How about the Brady Bunch? Or Dukes of Hazzard? Woody Woodpecker. A lot of Saturday morning cartoons. Or some of our favorite shows like Emergency or Adam 12 had their own lunchboxes as well. Charlie's Angels, lots of those. They were marketed like crazy. Well, of course, you had the Angels, you had Farrah Fawcett for at least one season, and then the rest. What about $6 Million Man? Lee Majors and the Bionic Woman, Lindsay Wagner. How about Laugh In? Right? Or Hee Haw? What? Yeah, I would be proud to take those to school. Not. Maybe in the very early 70s, those might have been cool, but towards the mid to late, that wouldn't have been not so great. Now, Happy Days was very popular. That would have been cool, or the Fonz even. He had a bunch of his own. What about H.R. Puffin Stuff? Do you remember that show? If you remember it but don't really remember it, go look it up on YouTube. They've got full episodes of it. And if you watch that, there's no doubt that the writers and directors of this show were tripping on really good drugs. It's just unbelievably odd and weird, and I'm not sure why we liked it. Probably because we were kids and it was just whatever. But it's some weird shit, man. I'm telling you. What else? Flintstones. Star Trek, of course. That was marketed out the ass. Here's one. I almost wanted to classify this in the odd section, but it was a TV show. I don't really remember it, but maybe you do. Julia. Yeah? Look it up. How about Grizzly Adams? Had his own lunchbox. The Waltons. I read a recent article about the Waltons referring from or talking about the children and how they were treated on the show, and basically they were treated like shit, like little slave labor, and I found that very interesting. And we'll finish off with Knight Rider. I mean, another thing that was marketed out the ass. You had everything, Knight Rider, toys, and whatever else, so you would expect all that. But yeah, TV shows, Saturday morning cartoons. Every Saturday morning cartoon you ever knew had a lunchbox. Every TV show you ever saw had a lunchbox. If it was a series. I wouldn't even be surprised if 60 Minutes had a lunchbox, but who knows? What about movies? Well, of course, you had the granddaddy marketer of all, Star Wars, of course, had theirs. Jaws, yeah. Gremlins, okay. Planet of the Apes. Here's a weird one. I don't remember the movie, and I'm not sure why I would ever want to have a lunchbox for this, but Apple's Way. What? Well, what about E.T., of course? You can have E.T. The Black Hole, sure, another big sci-fi. I think that was a Disney movie as well, and of course anything Disney is going to get the shit marketed out of it. All the Disney movies, I didn't even bother listing them because every one of them, had lunchboxes. What about Chitty Chitty Bang Bang? Yeah, I've actually seen the Chitty Chitty Bang Bang car when I lived in London. There was a local parade where it was actually in the parade. It was cool. What about King Kong? This would be the 70s King Kong with Fay Wray. What about Close Encounters? And of course, but here's one, I almost classified this one in the odd section. The Texas Chainsaw Massacre. That's a lunchbox I'd want. And maybe it made you cool. Maybe it made you one of the, kids that kind of has the darker image going on. So, maybe that would be appealing for that. Okay, what about musicians? Well, of course, the Beatles. All kinds. Yellow Submarine especially because it was so abstract and, hallucinogenic or whatever. Lots of bright colors, and plus it was cartoony, so therefore it was easy to transpose that onto a lunchbox. What about the Partridge Family? Oh yeah. If you do, would you call them musicians, or would you call that a TV show? That's sort of a gray area. And along with them, the Monkees. But although the Monkees tried really hard later to prove that they were musicians, that they played all their songs. So you gotta put them with the musicians. And we had the Osmonds. Yeah. All right. Well, of course, Kiss, the master marketers that they are. Elvis, yeah. And I put this in there because I didn't know where else to put it. But Evel Knievel, master self-promoter. Tons of lunchboxes for Evel Knievel. That would have been a cool one I would have liked to have had. And of course, you're going to have the superheroes. You're going to have Superman, Batman, Wonder Woman from those times. Because, you know, you had the series of all of those. Remember Adam West? And, of course, what is her name? That did Wonder Woman. Well, as a young adolescent while that show was out, that was a favorite of mine. I'll throw the name up in text because I don't have anything to look it up in right now. But yeah, Wonder Woman. And then, of course, as the 70s were winding down, we're moving into the 80s. Then we have the advent of the plastic lunchboxes. Now, again, certainly not as sturdy. Certainly not as I don't look back on the plastic ones with the same sort of fondness I do the metal ones. But, you know, this is when you had stuff like Benji, The Muppet Show, and Clifford the Big Red Dog, Mork and Mindy, plastic lunchbox, Garfield, and Hello Kitty. You might expect Hello Kitty. What about the California Raisins was in this time. And, of course, the ultimate plastic accessory, Barbie herself, right? And then, as I was looking up the pictures, we get into the odd ones. I'm not really sure who would, in their right mind, be showing up to school with these, but now this one I can probably see because it was a big deal back then, but you have Miss America. What about the Tootsie Pop Owl? Okay, so he took 3 licks to get to the center of the Tootsie Roll Pop, but did he deserve a lunchbox? The Spam lunchbox. Very interesting. Not one I would want to take, hoping to advertise my social status, I don't believe. What about this? This is crazy, but kind of cool. I mean, this is one I might be interested in. The organ donor lunchbox. How about Porky's Lunch Wagon? So I guess this is a shout out to the Looney Tunes guys. And of course they all had all of their own lunchboxes as well. Meat Parade. Okay. How about this? Now this one is guaranteed to get your ass kicked every day at lunch. Hawking. You're asking for it. Parents, I like Stephen Hawking, but don't buy your kids this because they're going to get their asses kicked. Disco Fever. I could see it in the 70s, but I don't know. How about this boombox? Kind of cool. Ruby Slippers from Wizard of Oz. Okay. All right. Holly Hobby. A lot of young girls like that, so I can see that. Cracker Jack. What about bacon? Everybody loves bacon. This is a weird one. Now look at this Jet Set. What? I don't get it. Boss Lady. All right, feminist movement. The Ouija board lunchbox. In case you want to eat lunch and ask the spirits for guidance. I don't know. Fender amp. This is cool. I would probably have done this. Ed Grimsley. Okay, I think he had a cartoon. I guess they made a big character out of him. I don't know. But the interesting thing is these lunchboxes are still coming out. People are still buying them. They're still making the metal ones, which is cool. As I was looking for modern ones, most of the ones I was finding was metal, and I think there's a lot of nostalgia from the parents, us, who had our metal ones, want our kids to have their metal ones. So you get The Walking Dead, Game of Thrones. Here's one, Zombie Survival Kit. Ham Sandwich might do that. Wall-E, great movie. The Hobbit, of course that's new. Story's not new, but look at the graphic. That's from the new one. Here's one, Kurt Cobain, smoking a cigarette. I mean, is somebody in school going to say something about that? I don't know. Well, my kids growing up, their mother liked this sort of retro stuff. So my son went to school with this old black worker's lunchbox. And my daughter, by the time she got to where she was going to school, we had gravitated to paper bags. So we had moved away from lunchboxes, really. My son, I think, continued to carry his lunch pail, but you know, after that it was strictly bags for us, and that's kind of where we stand. So anyway, I just thought maybe y'all would want to get nostalgic with me and look at some of these things and remember. You know, if you would, comment if I showed yours on here. Give me a comment below, or comment about which ones you remember having or thought were cool or stuff like that. We can have a discussion about them. But anyway, that's what I wanted to talk about tonight. So for my descendants, this was how we carried our lunches. Now, 100 years ago, they just carried them in a pail. That's why, lunch pail. That's what I call a lunch pail, right? You know, we moved on to stuff with a little higher imagery. Anyway, hope y'all guys had a great week. Enjoy your Friday and your weekend, and thanks for stopping by. I'm trying to finish this quick because my card's going to run out here very quickly. So y'all, take it easy, and see you around.